Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, popped on the floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch our favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris, his host.
And this morning, we watched The Jetsons.
My joke probably would have gone over a little bit better had people already known. Well, I mean, they clicked on, they saw the title. They get it.
I assume people read titles before they click on episodes.
It would have been weird if I was like, Chris, his wife.
You know what was interesting to me about that intro was I thought it was longer. Like in my head, I always assumed it was longer, but it really ends at Jane, his wife. And then it's like, it's like, oh, okay. I thought there was more to the story. They don't talk about Astro. They don't talk about Rosey.
No one cares
They're just
about
like,
them.
yep. And the rest.
Yeah. Well, they do say like his boy Elroy.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about Judy and Elroy. They talk about the main family. I'm talking about, they don't say anything about the side characters or what they're doing. They're just
and it's just like, no one cares. Do you remember that Family Guy skit that they did about the Jetsons a while back? It's really funny where they
No, I don't remember that.
They make it look like the Jetsons intro, like verbatim. And like, they do the thing where like, he gets his wallet out in the beginning and he like hands her $1 and she grabs the wallet and tries to like plop down through the, little spaceship. But then he grabs her by the wrist and he's like, hey, no. And starts like yelling at her. It's so funny.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really
good. So the show, The Jetsons, aired from 1962 to 1963 initially. And then there was a revival of the same series that just picked up where the first one left off from 85 to 87. So I think that's where I was a little confused coming into it because I didn't know that at all. I thought it was all just one like 3-season series, but it's like there was one solid like 60 series and then they had added 2 seasons 20 years later, which is pretty uncommon.
That's insane that it's 20 years later and like... I mean, I'll get there when I talk about it, but the entire original cast came back.
Yeah.
They didn't recast anybody.
Right?
All of them came back. I don't know how they pulled that off.
Good on them for at least trying to do that.
Never seen that happen before like that. Not with a gap that big.
So this was created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions, of course. Ran for 3 seasons, 75 episodes. Original series, like I said, 62 to 63. Revival was 85 to 87. Originally on the ABC network for season 1 and then in syndication for season 2 and 3. So the latter 2 seasons, they didn't try to like tag it on any particular network. They just brought it back for syndication specifically since the first season was already in syndication for all those years. And for a short synopsis, this is a very short synopsis, The Misadventures of a Futuristic Family.
Yeah, that'll happen.
There were misadventures.
Yeah, they're in there. And yeah, they're in the future. They're a family. And it's basically it. This was suggested to us by Sarah Lee 008 via Instagram. I'm assuming by that she is a government spy for
or
England.
She makes delicious baked goods because nobody does it like Sarah Lee.
Oh man, what if it's a crossover between baked goods and MI6?
I'm thinking that's just her secret identity. Like that's her everyday life, maybe. And then her secret identity is 008, who obviously one-ups 007.
Oh man. I'm just picturing now that she's got some delicious little snack cakes that are also deadly.
Oh, all of them. They have to be rigged.
Like she could snack on them, but she also could like click a button on one of the little frosted tips and toss it and it becomes like a live grenade.
Yeah, like she is immune to all poisons that are baked secretly into her goods that she can feed to her enemies and therefore dispose of them. Instead of having a Q like 007, she has an R since it's the next level.
That's true. Yeah. Sarah, if we're close, if we're on the money there, let us know. I feel like we got to be close to the real origin.
I think so.
Yeah.
We devoted about 5 minutes to describing your origin story, so I'm hoping it's true.
Yes.
So, who are some of the actors who played in this show?
Real quick, as I give the info for this, I want to give a quick thank you to our friend and follower John Coulis, who posted all this information during one of our Twitch streams just because, and then I didn't have to do as much work. So thank you, John.
There you go.
So George Jetson was voiced by George O'Hanlon, who was known for playing Joe McDokes in the Warner Brothers live action Joe McDoke's shorts from 1942 to 1956. And as I said earlier, all of these people came back from the original first season when it came back in the 80s. They all came back again to do it for seasons 2 and 3. All but the last one, who only the last name I read only came about in the reboot, or not reboot, but the like continuation in the 80s. So you'll understand when I get there. Jane, his wife, Jane Jetson, was voiced by Penny Singleton, who is known for playing Blondie Bumstead in several motion pictures from 1938 until 1950, and voicing the same character on the Blondie radio show from 1939 until 1950. So we're in the Wayback Machine there, where we're talking like radio shows and stuff instead of television here. You know, that's when you know we're way back there. I think the only other time we talked about something like that was when we did that first Superman animated series. Did we get that far back in history of media and stuff like that? So this is pretty interesting. The character of Elroy Jetson was voiced by Dawes Butler, who has been in lots of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, voicing lots of recognizable characters like Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Wally Gator, Quick Draw McGraw, and many others. If he did Quick Draw McGraw, I'm assuming he also did El Kabong. Wasn't that his like alter ego?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I forget about him.
Judy Jetson was voiced by Janet Waldo, who also voiced Penelope Pitstop in Wacky Races, and Princess from Battle of the Planets, which we watched and is the origin of Lava Jesus. T-shirts available in the merch store. Go to nerdslot.com, click on store. You can get your Lava Jesus merchandise. She's also the voice of Josie in Josie and the Pussycats. Voice of Astro, the space mutt, was Don Messick, who voices a lot of dogs. He was the original voice of Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. Also voiced Godzuki in the Godzilla cartoon that we reviewed this past October.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The voice of Rosey the Robot was provided by Gene Vanderpyle, who has been in various Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but also was known for voicing Wilma Flintstone in the Flintstones.
Dang. So she was in the past and the future.
Yeah, she's all over the place. She knows no time. She's a time lord. She's like the Doctor. Mr. Spacely is voiced by Mel Blanc, the man of 1,000 voices, who of course has voiced more characters than we could count. I think I want to say what he would say was that he had 400 distinct voices. But he had been involved in, I want to say, either 4,000 or 5,000 cartoons. But yeah, 400 distinct voices that he said that like are, you could tell apart. So that is insane.
Yeah.
Specifically known the most for voicing a lot of the main characters in Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes cartoons, as well as a lot of other Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And then finally, the last person I'm going to mention here, this is one that I was going to say was not in the original run of the Jetsons, but then showed up in seasons 2 and 3 when it came back in the 80s. This is the character Orbity, voiced by Frank Welker, of course, who is on a very similar path to Mel. He's a generation younger than Mel Blanc. Frank has voiced a character in probably the majority of Cartoon Boom episodes that we've done. So no surprise to see him here. And usually doing some sort of animal or strange creature or something. So hi, Frank. Good to see you again, pal.
Oh, so here's a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Jetson cereal. This is the first program ever to be broadcast in color on ABC TV. That's how old this show is.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's interesting. Would not have thought about that.
No. And like I was talking about earlier, it originally ran for only 24 episodes during the 1962-1963 TV season. And then 22 years later, in 1985, they decided, let's revive this thing and brought it back for syndication for seasons 2 and 3, which are noticeably different. And we'll talk about that once we get into it.
Very much so.
George Jetson's work week consists of an hour a day, 2 days a week. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I want that life. Why can't that be our future?
Oh, I would love that. And he affords that apartment on just that? Dang.
Yep.
We did something wrong in the course of our lives.
As we heard, he only pushes 2 buttons And I think on a long day, a hard day for him is pushing it 5 times. So
let's not take any credit away from him. He also sometimes has to kick that machine.
That's true, to get it back up and running.
Yeah.
There are 10 different comic series and 10 different video games of the Jetsons.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
The style of architecture and furnishings in the world of the Jetsons is called Googie. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's just Googie. It's Google with an I instead of an L. So Googie.
Googie.
It originated in the post-World War II period to capture the sense of progress in the jet, atomic, and space ages. Real-world examples include the Space Needle in Seattle and many classic installations in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the former Pan Am Worldport at JFK International Airport. It fell out of style in the early 1970s, and many examples have since been demolished or fallen into disrepair.
There's still a few things you can see, like there's some, now I think back on it, there's 1 or 2 things in Vegas I can still kind of picture in my head.
Yeah, so some of the monuments that were dedicated to that style still exist, but a lot of them are torn down. The series displays several devices that did not exist at the time, such as a flat screen TV, newspaper on a computer-like screen, computer viruses, video chat, a tanning bed, and a home treadmill. Today, those things are so common that when I was watching the show, I was like, okay, yeah, so they've just got these basic things, but Jetsons did it first before we even knew about these devices. That's really cool.
I was wondering about that, especially like right off the bat, we saw that flat screen TV, and I was just kind of thinking, oh man, that actually came out. That's interesting.
Yeah, and then they were talking about having 3D TV all the time, which we've tried to push to. It's not super popular, but it exists.
Yep.
Lastly, this is one of the last shows to portray a future that was funny, optimistic, and progressive before 1973's oil crisis and the fight for the environment that in the 1970s changed the vision of the future. So this was when we were expecting the future to be bright and everything was good and we were cool.
Before we as a society became so jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's how we ended up here instead of the Jetsons.
Okay. This is why we don't have flying cars. Because we're in the dark timeline. The other timeline would have been flying cars, like the Jetsons. And more googie.
Yeah, of course.
Everything would have been so googie. Instead, we got Gucci. We've really messed up.
Boo.
Boo.
Boo. And so something that I didn't know is, and they don't make it readily apparent, at least not in the episodes we watched, is that they don't live on Earth. They are on a different planet and living in, basically we've explored space and we've colonized different planets, and the Jetsons live on a different planet, in the atmosphere of a different planet, kind of like Bespin, I guess, because they live up, in the clouds, essentially. But light speed travel exists because they're talking about how they can travel these great distances very quickly. Like in the first episode, Judy's talking about going to like Hawaii and stuff. And it's like, okay, just be back before lunch or something. And it's like these quick trips for school.
That's why I thought they lived on Earth.
Yeah, I thought that too. But from what I was reading, they don't live on Earth. It's just they can travel so quickly that they can just get back to Earth and, move around at their leisure. So let's go and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. Oh, yeah. Dang, I forgot. Okay, do that. And then I'll do this.
I gotcha this time. Before we move on, I do want to thank our Treehouse members on Patreon, and specifically would like to call out some of our Twig level memberships, like Sam, Epic Otter, Ben Grimm, Straya, and Jack Fox, who also requested that I go into a very long diatribe about how I do love mustard, but that would be a lie, and I would never lie to you listeners, mostly. So seriously, thank you so much for all of your support. We seriously wouldn't be able to keep doing this show and keep Nerd Sloth going without all of your help. So big thank you from all of us at Nerd Sloth and from Joseph and myself here at Cartoon Boom. And if you are interested in helping us out and have the means to do so, you can either go to nerdsloth.com and find some info there on the support page, or you can head to patreon.com/nerdsloth and check out everything we have to offer over there. So once again, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you all. And Sarah Lee, if you're listening to this, if you want to put some mustard into some of those baked goods and send them our way, I won't tell Chris.
No, you don't need to do that. There's no reason. No reason to do that at all.
So the first episode we watched for today's show was Rosey the Robot, season 1, episode 1. When an automatic food preparer malfunctions, Jane Jetson tests a used robot maid on the night George brings his boss home for dinner. What I liked about this just initially is that this is kind of picking up at the start before Rosey even was in the picture. I didn't realize she wasn't always there. So I thought that was a really cool revelation.
Yeah, same for Astro. He wasn't there in the first few episodes either.
Yeah, and we happened to watch both of these intro episodes.
Yeah. What I really liked right off the bat is that there was a button that instantly gives you bacon. And
yeah,
that is another thing we don't have yet that reassures me we are in the dark timeline.
It opened with Jane doing like finger exercises. And I was curious. I was like, why is she doing that? And then we see all their devices can just be, you just push a button and then it gives you food. It like does all the work for you. So there's nothing else you need to do. Like that's how, I guess, how much leisure time or how much your devices work for you in the Jetsons future. It's like we're kind of getting there, but we're not at that advanced level yet.
No, definitely not. And I want to say, and I will apologize to this person that doesn't actually exist. I will apologize to Jane for judging her a little harshly at first. Because I was thinking, like, man, she's so spoiled because she was just complaining so much about, like, having to do the laundry and dishes and things like that. But, like, all it is like, pressing the buttons. And that's what she's ultimately complaining about is having to press buttons to do it. And she just sits in that chair and she's like, but my finger is so sore. And I'm just like, wait, she's complaining about that and she gets to sit at home all day and press buttons. But then we learned that George, goes to work for only an hour and does the same thing. He just presses buttons. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I shouldn't judge.
It's just human culture. I mean, the easier things get for us, the lazier we get and the more complacent we get. And this is just like a vision of that. It's very accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And Jane is only 33, which means we're older than Jane Jetson and probably George too. And that made me feel real ancient.
That's a little bit like she's 33 but has a 15-year-old daughter. Wait, what is that math? So, she would have been 18 when they had Jane then.
Yeah, my mom had me when she was 17, so.
Oh yeah, I guess she would have been 17 when she was pregnant, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, yeah, that works. That still pans out. So the big problem is all of their well, at least like their main machine that makes like a lot of their food and things like that is starting to not work so hot anymore and breaking down, and it's just messing everything up. Like the bacon starts coming out raw. One of the Elroy asks for a soft-boiled egg, and when the egg comes out and it cracks open, there's like a complete roasted chicken inside. Which is kind of funny.
George gets tea instead of coffee, lumpy tea instead of coffee.
Yeah, lumpy tea. Ew. So yeah, they're just like that's kind of like a big issue. She wants to replace that machine, but they don't have the money for it. That is like kind of the catalyst, which kicks off two different things. One, George going to, or at least making an attempt to go confront his boss, Mr. Spacely, about giving him a raise, which that conversation never ends up happening. And then Jane talking to her mother, who tells her that there's this place where you can rent these like robotic maids, or you could buy a robotic maid, but you can try one like for a 1 free day trial. So that's what she goes to do. And that's where our story diverges to those two and then comes back together towards the end.
Yeah. So we get to see, George failing at talking to Mr. Spacely because he's intimidated by him. And Mr. Spacely had just finished speaking with his wife, who was going out to protest against Martians, I guess, trying to come to their planet.
Oh boy.
And yeah, which
even
is
back then,
problematic.
Man. Even back then.
Yeah. And and then so Mr. Spacely is going to have to go and get food himself, and he doesn't want to do that. So when George comes in to try to ask for a raise, Mr. Spacely ends up convincing him to invite him over for dinner, or kind of invites himself over for dinner. And since their food machine is messed up and obviously they don't know how to cook themselves because they've just been so pampered, that's where these do cross over. And we get to see Jane kind of picking out the model. She goes through like a British model, a French model, and then Rosey, who's like a broken down one who's going to be like trashed soon. And but Rosie's kind of like the R2D2 of this because she has so much personality. She's been around for so long. She's got so much in her database. She's sassy, and she really is very opinionated. So Jane likes her instantly and decides to bring her home for the test.
Yeah, she's super, super fun. When George comes home, he's kind of grumpy. In typical George fashion, he's really mad when he sees that Rosie's there, and one, doesn't want Mr. Spacely to see her. Two, he doesn't want one anyway, because he's like, we can't afford this. But then, like, once he figures out that it is free for the day, you know, he's like, okay, whatever, just keep her, you know, kind of in the kitchen and stuff. Mr. Spacely shows up. Rosie makes like a gourmet freaking meal, and it's like
out of leftovers.
Yes. And it is like the best food they've ever had. And Mr. Spacely's in such a good mood. And Rosie ends up kind of revealing herself when she lights a cigar for Mr. Spacely when he asks George for a light. And he's like, what? And then she comes out with a pineapple upside down cake. And Mr. Spacely's still kind of just freaking out a little bit and getting really angry because he's just like, you shouldn't be making enough money to have one of these. Like, this is garbage.
You're supposed to be poor.
Yeah, you're supposed to be poor kind of thing. And that's Rosie gets really mad in George's defense, dumps the cake on his head and like tells him what's up. And then Spacely leaves, but not before firing George. And then Rosie herself, realizing, you know, that the family can't afford her, ends up kind of kicking herself out and she leaves. But then Spacely ends up calling back and tells George, hey, you know what? On second thought, you're rehired and I'm going to give you a raise so you can keep that robot made, because this pineapple upside down cake is amazing. So she
and that's his favorite dessert.
Yeah.
So, and because of that, like, he's like, well, Rosie already left, and Mr. Space is like, well, go get her. And so George like leaves to go and pick her up at the bus stop where she's going to go back to, I guess, the maid place to get scrapped. Yeah. And then, like she comes back, and that's how this kind of starts the dynamic that we are familiar with. And we get to see also that Rosie is really good with the kids. Like, she's playing sports with Elroy, and she is like doing Judy's homework, or helping her with their homework at least.
Yeah.
And so like they all are getting along really well. So it's a perfect match.
Wish I had a robot to do my homework back then. Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, now kids do. They have the internet, which we didn't really have at our disposal when we were kids.
That's true. Not until like towards the end of high school, going into college.
Yeah, right. Which wasted so much time on homework in between.
It was too late.
Yep. So the second episode we watched for today's show was The Coming of Astro, season 1, episode 4. This is the highest rated. And in this one, Elroy wants to keep the puppy he found, but his father prefers an electronic dog.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is, and I don't know if they carry this on in other episodes or not, but we get to see like a sneak peek or a preview of what's going to happen before the credits roll. And then it goes into the episode, and it's a clip that was pulled from like kind of the middle of the episode anyway. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting way that they were presenting it, where they kind of preview some of the action before it actually starts airing.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
Because that's something that I've seen other shows do, but it's not too common.
But yeah, the premise here basically is like when Elroy gets back from school, he's got Astro with him, which is this huge dog that he keeps insisting is a baby. It's a puppy. And what's funny too is Astro can talk, and Jane's just like, what is it? And he's like, oh, it's just baby talk.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to comment on that because I didn't know that Astro talked like that. First of all, with the R's replacing every letter, it's Don Messick. So now I understand.
That's how all dogs talk, Joseph.
But it's like, that's pre-Scooby-Doo, and everyone thinks like, basically like that's how everyone associates it is, oh, that's how Scooby talks, but Astro did it first. And so that I just thought that was an interesting lead in to what we now know is Scooby's voice was Astro's voice first.
Yeah, I mean, it all has to do with Don Messick, I assume, because he was the voice of both of those characters. And, exactly. he did one and it worked for one, so he brought it into the other and just changed the voice of it a little bit, but the pronunciations and mannerisms are still basically the same. Astro's still Scooby and Astro are still very similar because Astro is a scaredy cat just like Scooby-Doo is.
And I assume they're both, I know Scooby's a Great Dane, and I assume Astro is because he's so large.
I think so.
Yeah.
He'd have to be. But yeah.
Also, I liked that Jane at least was like, why is he talking like that? I don't understand what he's saying, because in Scooby-Doo, no one like comments on the fact that Scooby's talking like that, and it's hard to understand. But Jane is like outright saying like, why is he speaking so weird?
What's the dog talking? It's baby talk, Mom.
Yeah.
That's so good. I do like though when Jane does call George at work, because she is won over pretty quickly by Astro, and Judy is too. So all three of them really want to keep him, and they're afraid that George is going to say no because it's George. They call him in. The way Judy approaches the question is just pretty funny, and then she's just like, I have a question, and the way she's phrasing it, and she's like, it has to do a certain something, and she tries to give him a hint by barking. She's like, roar, 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 roar. And he's like, oh, your mother's coming to visit.
Yeah.
I mean,
that.
Such a stereotypical joke to make fun of the mother-in-law, but that was funny. Like, it cracked me up.
It is, but it was just, the delivery of it was great.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, so we're getting to see all of this happen where they're trying to convince him at the end of that conversation that to keep this dog. Well, they don't even know that like Astro, or George doesn't know that Astro's there yet. Like, he's just thinking they're trying to convince him to get a dog. And so he's like, well, I don't want my family to be mad at me because they hung up on like angry at him. So he's like, all right, well, maybe I can go get a dog. He does this thing on the computer, basically on his work computer, that's like, okay, how can I find a dog with these very specific parameters? And then they're like, just get a robot dog. The computer like pops out a little thing that's saying that. He's like, okay, great. So he goes to the pet shop to get this nuclear dog that is called
Electronimo.
Electronimo. Yeah, and it just follows all commands. It doesn't poop. You don't have to clean up anything. It's just like the perfect replacement dog. What he was saying was kind of making sense. It's like, dogs don't belong in apartments. And to a degree, I believe that, I think that's accurate if it's a larger dog.
Yeah.
Because then it can get problematic.
Yeah, I ran through that problem.
Yeah. So he's not coming out of nowhere with that. He has a logical reasoning. And so his answer to that is to get a robot dog because you won't have the same issues that present themselves. And it's very good at protecting against burglars. And there's a cat burglar on the loose, which is kind of the overall plot that is going to come around in towards the end.
Yeah, they did like a little demonstration there because when they brought up the idea of safety, George was like, well, I would like to see, a demonstration like how he would handle a burglar. So the guy selling him the Electronimo puts on like a little domino mask, like a burglar's mask, and then Electronimo bites his butt.
Yeah,
it's just kind of funny. He's like, yeah, he hates
this demonstration.
Yeah, he's like, he hates those burglar masks for sure. So of course, George ends up bringing that thing home. The family's super bummed out that George already took initiative and brought that home and was like, oh man, there's no way he's gonna let us keep Astro now. That dog susses Astro out because they hit him. And I'm sorry that's the word I used, but I did it, and it's too late to take it back. So the robot dog finds Astro, so the proverbial cat's out of the bag, and they're really fighting hard to keep Astro over Electronimo. Like, the rest of the family is not interested, but George is so dead set that Electronimo is the better dog. So he constructs basically a contest to see which is the better dog. He has all these different tasks, and Electronimo just destroys Astro in every aspect, which is pretty good.
Yeah, even though Astro can speak English and understand it, he doesn't understand commands because, like, when he's told to sit, he points. When he's told to point, he barks, etc., etc.
Yeah,
and so like all these contests, and he's trying when he's supposed to like fetch George's slippers and his pipe, but he puts like the pipe in between George's toes and the slippers in his mouth. So he's just like, he's messing up. And Elroy keeps coming in and saying, like, he's just a puppy, like he'll learn. And that leads to kind of that night where George is letting Astro stay the night because it's cold outside, and he's basically saying he's gone in the morning. So at that time, this cat burglar that we were talking about earlier, like rockets over to the Jetsons because he had been like, I guess, scouting the place and saw that they didn't have a dog initially. So he's like, all right, perfect. I'm going to rob this place. And he comes in. He steps right onto Astro and is like, oh, this is a weird lumpy carpet.
Yeah, Astro
and then,
just keeps sleeping.
Astro is still knocked out. Yeah. Eventually, the Electronimo like wakes everybody else up because he's barking at the burglar. Burglar switches his mask. Like, he puts his mask on George's head because it's the mask that Electronimo is drawn to, not the person. So then it's basically a chase scene of Electronimo chasing after George, biting him on the butt. And the cops coming after George runs outside and trying to apprehend him, thinking he's the burglar, while all the while the cat burglar is inside hiding, and Astro is still passed out this entire time.
He just sleeps through it all.
Yeah. Elroy tries to wake him up, though.
Yeah, the best part is like Elroy gets him to finally wake up, mentions a burglar, but Astro's scared and is like, burglar? Like, burglar? And then just tries to run for it, but ends up running straight into the cat burglar, and they knock each other out. And that's when George and the cop come upstairs, and they're like, oh, Astro actually caught the burglar? So with that, George is just like, ends up welcoming Astro into the family, thinking that Astro was brave and caught this thing, but Astro was just trying to get away.
Yeah.
And Electronimo ends up getting taken on by the cop as a police dog.
Yeah, so the Jetsons donate Electronimo to the police.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a great intro for Astro, and it didn't make him out to be the hero except in George's eyes because he doesn't know any better, and no one else is going to correct him. So that was pretty good. I like that episode.
That was good.
The last one we watched for today's show was Haunted Halloween, Season 2, Episode 34. You might find it listed differently in different places. On HBO Max, it's at least episode 34. So I'm just, wherever you're going to watch it, you might have trouble finding it.
Yeah. IMDb and Wikipedia listed as 26.
Right. So I'm not sure what episode it actually is, but it's season 2 somewhere in there. This was a Patreon pick by Ben Grimm. So thank you for choosing this one.
Yeah.
Because I do normally really love Halloween stuff.
Yeah. I just want to say is since we were talking about Patreon earlier, so one thing that we started doing with our Twig level members in Patreon, they get an opportunity to help out whenever we have shows that we're watching and we don't have a listener pick. When they pick, what show we're going to watch, but they don't pick a certain episode for us. We're now turning to those Twig members of Patreon to suggest some for us, and then we'll pick from that pool of what they come up with. So that's how we got this one. So thank you to everyone that picked some, and thank you to Ben who ended up picking this one.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool way to do it too, because normally we're just like, well, I guess this other one, but it's good for people who have actually seen these episodes to bring in some of their favorites so we can actually get a good sampling of it. So in this one, Elroy and Orbity, the one we were talking about earlier who Frank Welker plays, visit a scary wax museum on Halloween. I mean, that's not completely accurate, but we'll dive into it.
Can you try to explain Orbity real quick to me? Because to me, he's a popple with a spring in the middle.
Orbity looks like a toy that came to life, but I think he's supposed to be an alien. I mean, I know he's supposed to be an alien of some sort, but for some reason he has slinky legs and he looks like a toy. So I think maybe they made him for merchandising purposes. I don't know that for sure, but that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
So it starts out with George telling scary stories by the campfire. Immediately when you come into this, you notice the animation looks different. And you would think after 20 years it would look better, but I don't think it does. I like the original animation better.
I don't know. I think it's just very different. I don't want to say it looks worse. I don't think it looks better. It's just a different style. I mean, the characters look the same, but it's like their actions and movements are animated much differently.
Yeah, it's looser animation, and so it's not as clean as the original one was, but there is more movement. So it's like a sacrifice of one for the other, I guess.
A lot more colors, though, and a lot more saturation to those colors. I'll give them that much.
Definitely. And I read that John Kricfalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, was the one who, I guess, suggested that more vibrant color palette.
Oh,
because
nice.
he was working on this show at that time.
You know what? This animation reminds me of a pup named Scooby-Doo. That style of animation is what it looks like.
Totally. I could totally see that, yes.
Especially with the facial expressions that especially that George makes a lot, because like his facial expressions go super over the top in this. It's very much that style, like very exaggerated.
Definitely. It's like borderline. It's more cartoonish. I'll say that's what I'll say.
I also want to say I have never ever in my life had any sort of like attraction to the character of Jane Jetson until I saw her as a witch in this episode.
Oh. And that was such a brief.
It was like 2 seconds.
Scene too, yeah.
And then I was like, "Dang, Jane! All right,
get it, Jane." Well, I mean, and it's fair. She's around our age, so there you go.
See.
So yeah, there is like a short scene. Basically, George has told some scary stories. Orbity gets really freaked out by them. They're about this green thing called the Creeper. Elroy loves the stories. Orbity's scared, and Orbity has nightmares. One of them being a scene where they live in the haunted house and like everybody's a vampire. Elroy is a mummy, and I guess Jane's a witch. Judy and George are both vampires, though.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the scene that we're talking about, is just Orbity's like brief nightmare. And then for some reason, like George is treating like trick or treats as doing magic tricks this whole time. So he's a magician.
Yeah.
All while this is going on, like being a magician and doing magic is a big part of this episode.
Yeah, it's very magic oriented for some reason, but I guess they wanted to put the trick back in Trick or Treat, but in just a real weird way.
I wonder if it was like, since they don't live on Earth, if it was like a telephone like transference of this tradition to where maybe that is what they assume those tricks were.
I don't know, maybe
were magic tricks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Weird.
He was trying to work on like a whole magic act for this like event at work, and he wanted to perfect it and impress his boss, basically, which like we see him practicing it and trying a few things using his boss also, which he ends up embarrassing Mr. Spacely at one point in front of, I don't know exactly who or Cogswell is supposed to be, if he's like another manager of another business or his boss, or
he's the head of a competitive company.
Okay, so embarrasses him in front of Cogswell, so he gets super mad about that, of course.
And then Mr. Spacely and Cogswell have a annual contest where it's like who has the better costume.
Yeah.
And for this time, $10,000 is up for grabs. I don't know what that is in future money, but that's a lot in current money.
Yeah. Could you imagine that's just the random little bet you make of who's going to have a better Halloween costume? Could you imagine having that much money that you can be like, I bet you my costume's better. Oh yeah? Bet you 10,000 it's not. Yeah, it's fine. I'll bet you 10,000.
I would hesitate to bet $10 about a Halloween costume.
That'd be like us betting a beer, you know?
Yeah.
Buy a drink.
I'd still hesitate. It's like, I don't know.
It's insane. Anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy. It started at 5,000 and then Mr. Spacely like pushed it up to 10,000. They're just rolling in dough.
Yeah. Everyone keeps ending up at this place, Dr. Scarum, his museum for various reasons.
His Waxite Museum.
Waxite Museum. Dr. Scarum is a Dr. Frankenstein looking guy, and he's got a little robot assistant named Edgar instead of Igor, who's a tiny little hunchback robot. And they're even building a big monstrous looking robot that looks like Frankenstein's monster, of course.
Yep.
And I was trying to remember, why did Elroy originally go there? Was it to get a new costume?
Yeah, because that place, that Waxite Museum, also makes costumes.
Yes, that's right.
And that was an issue that Dr. Scarum was having, was trying to come up with a new idea for a costume.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's why Elroy and Orbity go there initially, is for new costumes.
Dr. Scarum sees Orbity and is just like, I need that popple. I need it.
Yeah.
You must have it.
I have to kidnap this thing.
Yeah, I must kidnap it. And it starts scheming on how to kidnap it, which it starts freaking Elroy out pretty quick. I need to give Elroy some props on a little kid seeing red flags, because he sees them, and like he sees them, warns his dad, and his dad's like, nonsense. Even when Dr. Scarum's like wringing his hands, drooling over them and stuff, like he's just like, nah, he's just friendly, you know?
Even when George goes into Dr. Scarum's on a separate occasion, and he's like, so how's your boy and his little friend? It's like, wow. Oh, George, that's not even a red flag for George. Just like, oh, they're fine.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
Hey, would you like to sit in a room alone with him for a while? That'd be fine. Come to my house. Which he does. He invites him over to his house.
Like, I bet they'll be excited to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
George goes there hoping for like magic lessons and stuff, because Dr. Scarum tells him when he gets there, oh, yeah, I know so much magic. Yeah, I'm great. I'm great at that. I can show you at your own house. George is like, heck yeah, come over to my house.
As long as your boy's going to be there.
Yeah, come over to my house, hang out with my son. George is the worst father.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's very naive.
So that happens. They go over there. He sets up a trick that's actually an elaborate ruse to steal Orbity, which works. They get transported back to the museum. And then George finally realizes, whoops. And the whole family goes over there to save Orbity, which they do with the help of the Franken robot thing that at some point grabs Dr. Scarum and starts dancing, which was, I'm not sure why he did it, but it was fun. It was funny. I laughed.
Well, because the first time they introduced the Franken robot, he was dancing. And that's why Dr. Scarum was going to scrap that idea, because he's like, I can't get it to be scary. It keeps dancing. And so that's just that joke coming back, I guess.
Oh.
And then at the end of it, Orbity's like, just like, hey, George, hold up. Wait and listen, because this is not what you think it is. And that's where...
By saying that, you mean he turns purple and communicates all of those words by just turning the color purple and jumping into...
No, he literally said, please, George, listen.
I don't remember that.
Was what
I just thought he turned purple and jumped into Dr. Scarum's hands.
Nah, I mean, his voice is so high-pitched, maybe it like isn't a frequency you caught or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Orbity also changes colors based on his mood. So he's a mood ring toy thing. Yeah, so the whole idea apparently was that Dr. Scarum wasn't trying to kidnap Orbity.
Well, he was.
He was trying to make, he was, but he had good intentions, because he wanted to make a costume in honor of Orbity. Like, his attitude changes completely from how it's been the entire episode, and it felt really weird that he's just like, oh, hey, like, I've already gotten Orbity's permission to make this costume. Can I get your permission to start production, Mr. Jetson? It's like, why didn't you just ask? Why did you kidnap this little alien to do this, only to like try to turn around, do a 360 and be super, or do a 180 and be super nice later?
Yeah. It was weird.
I didn't get that. I feel like that was a flaw in this episode that really kind of took away from it, because it took the stakes out of it entirely. I thought this was just going to be some creepy dude and they were going to save the day and then everyone was going to be happy afterwards. I didn't know it was going to turn into like a everybody's good in this. Like that kind of... I was kind of disappointed in that.
Oh, you wanted him to be a real villain.
Yeah, there needs to be a real villain. Like this, there were stakes, and then they just completely negated it.
There were stakes. They were not driven through the vampire.
No, not at all.
He is successful making his Orbity costume, though, and it catches on. Mr. Spacely is dressed as Orbity at their work event, and he's just so sure he's going to win that bet with Cogswell, but then Cogswell shows up with the same costume.
Yep. And apparently the winner of the previous year's bet wins on a tie. And since they tie, Mr. Cogswell takes the 10,000.
Yeah.
And George accidentally makes Mr. Spacely disappear. I don't know how magic works in this futuristic world, but I guess George is a sorcerer.
Yeah, he's a sorcerer now. George Jetson is the new sorcerer supreme in this world.
Yeah, what do they call him? The great Jetsoni or something?
Yeah, that sounds like something they would say.
Yeah. Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we send our inner kids to the future to hang out with George, Jane, Judy, and Elroy, and maybe see if they can get us one of those sweet Futuraka cycle devices so I can skip the microwave altogether, then see what they thought of the Jetsons.
This show is old, but it's in the future. but it kind of still feels a little bit old, but like still really fun. I don't understand how time works, but it did teach me that it's okay to kidnap someone as long as you plan to use them to make a costume. Thanks, Jetsons.
Why didn't you guys tell us this was how cool the future was going to be? Flying cars, talking dogs, robot maids, and the ability to be even lazier than I already am. I'm in.
I wish that's how it worked out, you know?
Honestly, yeah, I'm sad to say that is not exactly how the future is going to be.
We didn't get any of
The lazy
those.
part still holds up.
Yeah. I mean, we did grow up to be a little lazy, but we didn't get any of the other good stuff.
Yeah, we're working way more than 2 hours or 2 days a week and 1 hour a day.
I'm still holding out for my bacon button. So what are some of the things that you liked about this show?
So, like, I didn't really understand when I was younger, like, the meaning behind this show, but the show's version of the future makes so much sense to me now. And I say this because the reaction that they were having to the world around them just felt very authentic. As humans, we would absolutely allow ourselves to be spoiled by advancements in technology and complain about it not being advanced enough, no matter what level we reach. It's always going to be that way. So while this was like a family comedy first, it was also an accurate depiction of human nature and just how complacent we can become when we allow technology to take over our basic task. So it wasn't that they were showing it as like a positive thing, but more of like a comedy of taking that absurd level of leisure for granted, which I thought was great. I think it was just a really smart show, mainly because of how topical that is still.
Yeah.
Like, we have literal computers in our pockets and access to all the information and entertainment we'd ever want. So what do we have to complain about? Like, seriously, it really kind of made me think very like introspectively. So the Jetsons was a satire that was literally and figuratively ahead of its time.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with that completely. I like a lot of that because I compare it to, you know, several years back when we accessed the internet or whatever. You know, we had dial-up and everything, and, you know, we had to wait so long to get on the internet, and now we could do it real quick. But even if like a page doesn't necessarily load in, you know, within like 5 seconds or something, we're like super stressed out and angry and yelling at the computer and like, it's so stupid. And what am I even paying for? And like stuff like that. I catch myself doing stuff like that all the time. And it's like, but dude, like just still like a couple decades ago, like I couldn't, you know, do anything, you know, without waiting for like 15 minutes or something. It's just like ridiculous. So you're completely right.
Yeah, and the time it takes you to do like to visit multiple web pages, it would have taken you that long just to load one image, or longer just to load one image back in the day on the 56K.
Absolutely.
So it is insane the amount that of complacency that we show for things like that. It's because we can't go back. That's the thing. Like, we just keep moving forward, and our minds just don't want us to go back because of how comfortable we are.
This was also so saturated with a lot of really great and quick subtle jokes. Like, the show was so much more witty than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of real minor, you know, things that the characters would say that would just kind of come and go so quickly if you weren't paying attention, and just stuff that I wouldn't have picked up as a kid because, again, like you said, a lot of it is satire and just playing off of things that we take advantage of and stuff in everyday to-day life. And this is that to an extreme because they're putting it in the future, but all that stuff is still directly things that we can relate to in today's world, like basically no matter what time frame you're living in. But I liked that very much, and it's something I didn't remember at all, that the show was as funny as it was.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even though it had a laugh track on the first couple episodes, or in the first season, I guess, I didn't mind it. Like, there was during like most of the parts where it actually had the laugh track were good jokes, and so I kind of laughed along with it sometimes. I'm like, okay, laugh track, I see you.
You
so
see it.
I just think that, yeah, it was pretty clever. It was a lot smarter than I thought it was going to be, and better than I remember it being. But I guess probably a lot of it went over my head as a kid.
Getting on to dislikes, since you brought up that laugh track, I'm not a fan of laugh tracks in cartoons, aside from like honestly, it does not bother me in the original Scooby-Doo. It just kind of comes with the territory with older Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But it didn't bug me that much here. I'm just not a fan of them in general. So for the most part, I didn't mind it. But a few times I was just like, that wasn't even funny. Why did you put the laugh track right here? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think my big, I don't want to say big dislike. I don't have a big dislike of this show. I just feel like there was quite a jarring shift between the first iteration of the Jetsons and the newer stuff, which I feel like is one that you're going to talk about too. There's a really big shift in tone for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to touch on for my dislike, because it's not that I dislike the show itself. It's just that there's such a big difference between season 1 and then the other 2 seasons because of the different time frames they were made. It felt like they should have just been separate shows altogether, like the Jetsons rebooted or something, just like whatever the new name would be, just like keep it disconnected because they feel very disconnected. Like the attitude of them is different. It doesn't feel like they're touching as much on the social commentary that they were in the original season. It's more just like goofy laughs and stuff. It's kind of like Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, not to that degree, but you know, they bring in the animal companion friend in what's his face, Orbity, to try to like lighten it up more. And it's not as much of like a family satire as it is just a fun kids cartoon now. So while that's fine as a separate entity, it just doesn't, it feels very disconnected from the first season of the show.
Yeah, and I wanted to know what you thought about this because I have like a very specific feeling about the tone of it. I felt like the first season definitely was made for a whole family audience, like mom, pop, kids, everybody, you know, maybe a dog or a gross cat to sit down and watch together. But when it came back, I feel like they definitely shifted that tone away from full family to specifically the children, because I feel like a lot of the jokes were dumbed down a lot. I think the animation was, we talked about a little bit earlier, was a lot more simplified in that, you know, it wasn't as clean all the time. And a lot of the faces were way more exaggerated. And, like the characters were very different too, because George went from angry, stereotypical, you know, 50s father kind of archetype to George is now the prankster goofball, and Jane went from kind of aloof but very caring and motherly, you know, real playful, to a little bit more stern and like more of the a little bit more of the serious one of the family when it came back. So I thought that was just so that was such a strange change, which is why I feel like their target audience shifted with that new iteration.
Definitely. And I think that's also why they took the stakes away from it, why it did turn out to be like a happy ending after all, when it didn't need to be. And I think if they had done something like that in the first season, they wouldn't have pulled back. But since this is more directed for kids now, it's like they're pulling back to make it, oh, it's just a fun, happy story. There was just a misunderstanding. And, you know, while I get that, I get it, but it just feels like it should be a separate show, especially because it's, you know, 2 decades later. So it's like, yeah, the temperance is going to change of it, but let it be its own thing. Don't try to attach it to something that was made in a way different time and is going to stay a product of its time. So I think these are both products of their times, but trying to be spliced together, which makes it feel really weird.
Yeah, it should have named it A Pup Named George Jetson.
Yeah. Slimer and the Real Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with that said, let's get on to our final reviews. I just want to say, like, I think obviously watching it, I know why it's remembered so fondly to a lot of people. I think for the most part, it still holds up really well. I think that tonal shift from the original series to the new seasons that came 2 decades later is very strange, as we kind of just went on for the last, 10 minutes about that. But no matter what, it still maintains a classic Hanna-Barbera feel throughout. And no matter what, it's still some good, wholesome fun. So I rated the Jetsons 4 bowls of Spacely Sprocket cereal out of 5.
Yeah, overall, I'd give the Jetsons 4.5 big bowls of Roy Boy cereal out of 5. And while it is definitely a product of its time, it had some surprisingly smart elements of social commentary, at least in the first season. And I'd love to see this get some kind of future reboot, preferably animated. And I say that because as of 2017, I saw that there was development of a live action Jetson series that was in talks.
No.
I don't know that that's still happening, and I don't know where it stands, but I hope that they make an animated one versus live action if they're going to reboot it at all.
We don't need live action everything, guys.
No.
Come on. Well,
no one asked for this.
No one wanted it. Well, before we bum ourselves out a little more, let's get on to some Apple Podcast reviews real quick. Got a few 5-star reviews here with some comments. The first one's from Travis84, who says, very entertaining. Stumbled upon this podcast around 3 or 4 years ago and always enjoy listening to Joe and Chris. I don't listen to every single episode, mostly just the ones where they talk about shows I watched growing up. Occasionally, I'll check out something out of curiosity or if they mention it during the show. For example, the whole Saw Boss thing. I can't remember the name of that show. I enjoy and relate to their humor, and I'm always put in a good mood listening. Keep up the good work, fellas. By the way, I suggested Garfield and Friends a few years back and would like to throw a suggestion in for the critic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Travis.
Cool.
Garfield and Friends was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you did that. And yeah, the critic might be on there. If it's not, I'll make sure it's on there. The next 5-star review comes from Parbrand 2022. Who says, I'm a huge fan over this podcast. Go and watch and review Dogs in Space. It's a Netflix show, and it's really good. All right.
You know what? I actually saw one episode of that because it's relatively new, and it is really funny. So we should review that someday.
Okay, we can do that. Let's see. And our final 5-star review here is from Toko. I'm pretty sure we know who that is. I'm guessing that's Tokiyama, but in a hoodie from our Twitch streams. So thank you, Toko. Says my all-time favorite and introduction to podcasts. This podcast has a really special place in my heart. I discovered it 2 to 3 years back. Can't remember at this point. And it has been there with me ever since. It was kind of the first ever podcast I listened to and then continued to listen for many years and was my gateway to other podcasts. Please watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, especially Season 3, Episode 14. Let's go to the manga artist's house, part 1. Thank you, Toko.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I know JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is on the list, but I'll make sure I add you on there as well, and I'll add that episode. So thank you, everybody, for those reviews. If you haven't left one yet, please do that. If you aren't boycotting Spotify, and if you like, you can leave us some there because I think they started doing them there, which at some point I might start reading those. But if you are boycotting Spotify, I totally understand why and am not going to bash you for doing it. So
nope, your opinion is valid.
Yeah, very valid.
Appreciate when people tell us that this is their first podcast.
That's cool.
Or their intro to podcast. That's so awesome. I'm glad that we could bring people into this crazy world.
Yeah.
And it's very flattering to hear that ours was one of the first they listened to, if not the first.
Yeah, that's super cool. We get to be the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Hey, kid. Hey, you want a podcast?
You heard about this cartoon?
Hey, you heard about podcasts? Don't tell your mom. Yeah.
So please do, actually.
Please tell your mom and all your friends. Yes, thank you so much to everybody for everything. Eventually, if I'm not as mad at Spotify for some other things, I'll start reading some of Spotify's comments.
So thank you, Sarah Lee 008, for suggesting this. I am pleasantly surprised by how well at least the first season of this holds up.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for suggesting this one. I think we've got quite a few from Sarah on the list. So I'm definitely expecting to see your name pop up again, and excited to thank you again later on down the road when we get some more. You're off to a real good start.
And some of those sweet mustard-filled baked goods.
No, will you stop with the mustard-filled? Ugh.
Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And in 2 weeks, we'll be watching
The Brave Little Toaster, suggested via YouTube by Jason Abernathy.
I have never seen that movie.
Yeah, I have it, and there's a part that freaked me out as a kid, and I haven't seen it since. So great, ready for those nightmares again. Thanks, Jason.
Can't wait to see that.
Great.
Well, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris with Nightmares.
And we'll see you in 2 Saturdays.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.